When they play dirty, their first objective is not to defeat you with logic, but to control you through emotion. They provoke, insult, accuse, or manipulate because they understand something powerful. The moment you react emotionally, you surrender strategic control. Anger clouds judgment, fear weakens posture, frustration exposes insecurity. The smartest move in any psychological battle is not aggression, it is emotional discipline. When you control your emotions, you control the pace, direction, and outcome of the situation. Emotional control does not mean you feel nothing. It means you refuse to display what can be used against you. A manipulative person studies reactions carefully. They watch your tone, your facial expressions, the speed of your responses. Each reaction gives them data. If you become defensive, they know they touched a sensitive area. If you become angry, they know they can escalate. If you rush to explain yourself, they know you feel pressured. But when you remain calm, steady, and composed, you deny them information. You become unreadable, and unreadable people are difficult to manipulate. A smart player understands that reacting immediately is rarely necessary. There is power in the pause. When someone throws an accusation or tries to provoke you, a brief silence followed by a controlled response shifts the psychological balance. It signals that you are not shaken. It creates uncertainty in their mind. They begin to question whether their tactic is working. That small moment of doubt weakens their confidence and strengthens your position. Dirty tactics often rely on speed. The manipulator wants quick emotional chaos, so you make impulsive decisions. But strategic thinking requires slowing the moment down. When you take a breath instead of reacting, you allow your rational mind to regain control. You assess the situation objectively. What is their motive? What outcome are they trying to create? How can you respond in a way that strengthens you rather than satisfying your pride? This calculated approach transforms you from a target into a strategist. Emotional control also protects your image. In any conflict, observers judge behavior more than details. The calm person appears credible. The reactive person appears unstable, even if they are right. By maintaining composure, you shape perception in your favor. You demonstrate confidence without raising your voice. You project strength without needing to dominate. This silent authority often wins more allies than loud confrontation ever could. Over time, emotional discipline becomes intimidating. When others realize they cannot easily provoke you, they hesitate. Their usual tactics lose impact. They search for weaknesses but find none visible. That uncertainty disrupts their rhythm. It forces them into riskier moves, and risky moves expose flaws. By simply refusing to react emotionally, you create pressure without saying much at all. In the end, playing smart is not about overpowering someone, it is about outlasting their tactics. Emotional control is your first weapon because it protects your clarity, your reputation, and your strategy. When they attempt to drag you into chaos, you remain grounded. When they escalate, you stay measured. And in that difference, the advantage quietly shifts to you. When they play dirty, they rely on chaos, emotion, and surprise. But if you want to play smart, you must do something far more powerful. You must study them before you ever respond. Every manipulative or aggressive person carries weaknesses hidden beneath their tactics. Ego, impatience, insecurity, arrogance, the need for validation. These traits eventually expose cracks in their strategy. The person who observes carefully will always have more leverage than the person who reacts quickly. Dirty players are often predictable once you detach emotionally. They repeat patterns. They interrupt when they feel threatened. They exaggerate when they lack facts. They attack personally when they cannot win logically. If you step back and watch instead of engaging immediately, you begin to see these patterns clearly. Observation turns emotion into information, and information is advantage. The moment you understand what drives someone, you gain insight into how they will behave under pressure. Ego is one of the most common weaknesses. Many manipulators crave control and recognition. They want to appear dominant, intelligent, or superior. This desire often makes them overconfident. Overconfidence leads to carelessness. When someone underestimates you because you appear calm or reserved, they lower their guard. They reveal more than they should. They speak too freely. They assume they have already won. In that moment, you are collecting data while they are exposing vulnerabilities. Impatience is another weakness you can use strategically. Dirty players often want immediate results. They push for quick decisions, quick reactions, quick agreements. They apply pressure to rush you into mistakes, but if you slow the pace, you disrupt their rhythm. When you respond calmly and deliberately, their impatience may push them into emotional outbursts or sloppy arguments. Their urgency becomes their downfall. By staying patient, you allow them to weaken themselves. Insecurity is perhaps the most powerful weakness to understand. Many aggressive tactics are defensive at their core. People attack when they feel threatened. They manipulate when they fear losing control. If you identify what threatens them, your competence, your confidence, your reputation, you gain strategic insight. Instead of confronting them directly, you can reinforce the very strength that unsettles them. Their insecurity intensifies, causing them to overact. Overreaction reveals instability. Playing smart does not mean striking aggressively at someone's weakness. It means positioning yourself so their weakness works against them naturally. You do not need to insult an ego-driven person. You simply allow their ego to push them into reckless decisions. You do not need to argue with an impatient person. You let their urgency expose inconsistency. You do not need to provoke an insecure individual. You maintain steady confidence and let their discomfort speak for itself. The key is emotional distance. If you become angry, you stop observing. If you become defensive, you stop analyzing. Strategic thinking requires clarity. Clarity comes from calmness. When you remain composed, you can see what others miss. You can predict moves before they happen. You can choose responses that strengthen your position rather than satisfy your emotions. In every psychological game, the person who understands human weakness holds the advantage. They do not rush. They do not reveal their hand too early. They study, they calculate, and when the time is right, they act with precision. That is how you play smart while others play dirty. When they play dirty, they often assume you will try to overpower them openly. They expect visible resistance, obvious confidence, or direct confrontation. But playing smart means doing something far more effective. You let them underestimate you. Underestimation is one of the greatest psychological advantages you can have. When someone believes you are harmless, less aware, or less strategic than you truly are, they lower their defenses. And lowered defenses create opportunity. Most people are threatened by visible strength. If you openly display dominance, intelligence, or ambition, competitors become cautious. They guard their words. They hide their intentions. They prepare counter moves. But when you appear calm, relaxed, and even slightly passive, they relax around you. They speak freely. They reveal plans. They assume control. This assumption blinds them. While they believe they are ahead, you are quietly observing and calculating. There is discipline in appearing harmless. It requires you to control your ego. You may know you are capable. You may see their mistakes clearly, but instead of correcting them immediately or asserting superiority, you allow them to continue. Every extra word they speak gives you information. Every confident assumption they make exposes their strategy. You gather insight while revealing very little about yourself. Information asymmetry becomes your advantage. Underestimation also reduces resistance. If someone sees you as a threat, they unite others against you. They prepare attacks in advance. But if they perceive you as non-threatening, they delay action. That delay gives you time to strengthen your position quietly. You build alliances subtly. You refine your skills privately. You prepare alternatives without drawing attention. By the time they realize your true capability, you are already ahead. This approach does not mean you lack confidence. True confidence does not need constant display. It is internal, controlled, and patient. Loud confidence often masks insecurity. Quiet confidence, on the other hand, is strategic. It understands timing. There is a moment to reveal strength, but that moment is chosen carefully, not triggered emotionally. When conflict finally arises, the element of surprise becomes powerful. The person who underestimated you feels psychological shock. Their expectations collapse. Shock disrupts decision-making. They scramble to adjust. Meanwhile, you remain composed because you anticipated this moment long ago. Your preparation was never visible, but it was always present. Letting others underestimate you also protects your emotional energy. You are not constantly proving yourself. You are not engaging in unnecessary battles. You conserve focus for moments that truly matter. This efficiency strengthens your long-term position. Instead of fighting every small challenge, you win decisive ones. In psychological games, visibility is not always strength. Sometimes the most powerful player is the one no one notices until it is too late. When they play dirty, they rely on noise and aggression. When you play smart, you rely on patience and perception. You allow them to misjudge you. You allow them to relax. And when the time is right, you move strategically, calm, prepared, and already 3 steps ahead. When they play dirty, the natural instinct is to defend your pride. You want to respond immediately, correct the accusation, expose the lie, or prove them wrong. But playing smart means understanding that your ego is not the priority. Your reputation is. Ego seeks immediate satisfaction. Reputation seeks long-term positioning. If you protect your ego in every moment, you may win arguments but lose influence. If you protect your reputation, you may lose small battles but secure lasting authority. Dirty tactics often target your emotions because emotional reactions are visible. When someone criticizes you publicly or questions your integrity, they are not just challenging your actions, they are challenging how others perceive you. If you respond aggressively or defensively, observers focus on your reaction instead of the truth. Even if you are right, emotional intensity can distort perception. Calm restraint, on the other hand, communicates confidence. It signals that your identity is not fragile. Reputation is built through consistency. One composed response under pressure strengthens your image more than 10 emotional victories ever could. People remember patterns. If you consistently handle conflict with clarity and control, others begin to associate you with stability and strength. That association becomes protective. When future accusations arise, your established credibility acts as a shield. Observers question the attacker rather than you. Playing smart also means choosing which battles deserve attention. Not every insult requires a response. Not every rumor deserves amplification. Sometimes the smartest move is strategic silence combined with visible competence. Instead of arguing with someone who spreads doubt, you double down on performance. Results speak louder than rebuttals. Over time, excellence undermines criticism more effectively than confrontation. This approach requires emotional discipline. Your ego will demand validation. It will push you to prove yourself immediately. But strategic thinking asks a different question: will this response strengthen my long-term position? If the answer is no, restraint becomes power. When you refuse to be dragged into every conflict, you conserve energy for moments that truly matter. Reputation also depends on perception management. The way you speak, carry yourself, and respond under stress shapes how others evaluate you. A single uncontrolled reaction can linger longer in memory than months of quiet professionalism. That is why composure under pressure is so valuable. It communicates internal strength. It reassures observers that you are stable even in chaos. Protecting your reputation does not mean ignoring attacks entirely. It means responding intelligently. Address falsehoods with facts, not emotion. Clarify misunderstandings calmly. If correction is necessary, make it concise and confident. Avoid long emotional explanations that signal insecurity. The goal is not to appear defensive, it is to appear grounded. Ultimately, ego fights for pride in the moment. Reputation builds power over time. When they play dirty, they want you to lose control and damage your own image. When you play smart, you rise above the immediate provocation and focus on perception, credibility, and long-term influence. In doing so, you transform conflict into opportunity. Instead of reacting to protect pride, you respond to protect position. And position, once secured, becomes real power. When they play dirty, they expect noise. They expect arguments, explanations, and emotional reactions. What they rarely expect is silence. Silence is uncomfortable because it creates uncertainty. And uncertainty is psychological pressure. When you refuse to respond immediately, you interrupt their rhythm. They prepared for resistance, not restraint. That disruption alone shifts control in your favor. Most manipulative tactics depend on visible feedback. The person provoking you watches your face, your tone, your body language. They want confirmation that their words had impact. The moment you show anger, frustration, or defensiveness, they feel momentum. But when you remain calm and quiet, you deny them that confirmation. They are left guessing. Did it work? Did it fail? Are you unaffected, or are you planning something? That uncertainty unsettles them more than any argument could. Silence also forces the other person to fill the space. In conversation, long pauses create discomfort. Many people rush to speak just to break the tension. When they do, they often reveal too much. They repeat themselves, exaggerate, or contradict earlier statements. They may even expose insecurity through over-explanation. By simply holding your composure and saying less, you allow them to weaken their own position. Playing smart means understanding timing. Immediate responses are often emotional responses. Delayed responses are usually strategic. When someone accuses you or attempts to provoke you, take a breath. Maintain steady eye contact. Let a few seconds pass. That pause communicates control. It signals that you are not pressured. It suggests that your response, when it comes, will be deliberate rather than reactive. This subtle shift builds authority. Silence also protects information. The more you speak in heated moments, the more you reveal your fears, your strategy, your limits. Words spoken under emotion can be used against you later. When you speak less, you minimize exposure. You choose your words carefully, only when necessary. Fewer words, delivered calmly, carry more weight than long emotional defenses. There is also strength in selective non-engagement. Not every comment deserves acknowledgement. Not every insult requires correction. When you ignore certain provocations entirely, you send a powerful message. You are not easily moved. Over time, people learn that their attempts to destabilize you do not work. This reduces future attacks because manipulators seek easier targets. Silence does not mean weakness or avoidance. It means controlled communication. When you finally speak, your words are measured and intentional. Because you have not wasted energy on emotional reactions, your statements feel precise and grounded. Others listen more carefully because you have not been talking constantly. In psychological battles, pressure wins more than aggression. Silence creates that pressure quietly. It builds tension. It forces reflection. It unsettles those who rely on chaos. When they play dirty, they rely on noise and confusion. When you play smart, you use stillness and patience. And in that stillness, you hold the stronger position without ever raising your voice.